Dear students, in this lecture on the topic shares and dividends, we are going to solve some examples which involves resale of shares. So far, we have solved shares, we have solved examples which involved only one share on resale of shares. Now we are going to solve examples which involves more than one share. So let us see some examples. First example, a person purchased 80 shares of rupees 100 each at rupees 110 each. So what is meaning? Face value is rupees 100, market value is rupees 110, and number of shares are 80. The rate of dividend is 12%. We have to find two things. First, we have to find his income, and secondly, we have to find rate of return on investment. So, the basic outline for finding rate of return is this. We have seen this in previous lecture also. So first we will have to find dividend, then we will have to find return. Return is nothing but net income, and we have to find rate of return. So you can see that many examples from this chapter are based on this outline. Remember the outline to find rate of return. It is dividend, return and rate of return. So dividend is profit, whereas return is net profit or net income. Now let us see dividend. So first thing that you should note is this: we are going to calculate all shares. We are going to calculate dividend for all shares. And all shares means how many shares are there? There are 80 shares here. So to find dividend, we have the formula that dividend on all shares equals to rate of dividend into face value of all shares upon 100. So first we have to find face value of all shares. So to find face value of all shares, we simply have to use this formula that face value of all shares, that is 80 shares, equals to face value of one share into number of shares. So face value of one share is 100 and there are 80 shares. So face value of all shares equals to rupees 8,000. Okay. Next, we are going to use this formula. Dividend on all shares is equal to rate of dividend into face value of all shares upon 100. So rate of dividend, as we have seen, it is 12. This is 12, or here 12, into face value of all shares, which we have calculated just now. So face value of all shares is 6,000 divided by 100, and that equals to 960. So dividend is 960. Then here there is resale of shares. There is no resale of shares. So return is going to be equal to dividend, and that equals to total income, and that equals to 960. So total income is 960 rupees, 960. For finding rate of return, the formula is return upon market value of all shares into 100. So what is return on all shares? It is 960. Market value of all shares is going to be equal to 110 into 110 into 80, and that equals to 8,800. So market value of all shares is 8,800, and thus rate of return on calculation. Pause the video for a while, do this calculation. 960 upon 800 into 100, and that you will find it comes as 10.91%. So the final answer is rate of return is 10.91%. So here in this example there was no resale. We are going to see two more examples where there will be resale with profit, and there will be resale resale with loss. So in this example there was no resale. Now next two examples, there will be resale with profit and there will be resale with loss. So in next example we will see the resale of shares with profit, but the basic outline is again going to be the same. The basic outline is again going to be the same. First we will have to calculate dividend, then we will have to calculate return, and finally we'll have to calculate rate of return. We'll have to calculate rate of return. So let us see the statement of the example. It is given that a person purchased 80 shares of rupees 100 each at rupees 110. After receiving 12% dividend, he sold all shares for rupees 120 each. We have to find his total income and rate of return on investment. So total income is nothing but return, which we will have to find. Means his net income we will have to find. So first we will find dividend. To find dividend, again note that we are going to consider all shares. All shares means how many shares are there? There are 80 shares. So again we'll see dividend. So to find dividend we have to find face value of all shares. So face value of all shares is nothing but face value of one share into number of shares. Face value of one share is rupees 180 and number of shares are 80. So total value will be 100 into 80, that is equal to 8,000. This is first point. Face value of all shares we have found, and it is 8,000. Now dividend is given by the formula rate of dividend upon into face value of all shares upon 100. So let us substitute the values. Rate of dividend is given as 12. So it is 12 into face value of all shares. We have seen face value of all shares at 6,000. So 12 into 6,000 divided by 100. Sorry, it is 8,000. So 12 into 8,000 divided by 100, and that equals to 960. So answer is dividend is equal to 960. Then we'll have to find return. Again, to find return, first note that there is resale of shares. There is resale of shares with profit. There is resale of shares with profit. So resale of shares with profit, how much profit is there? A share of rupees 800 it sold for 110, means there is sale of, means there is profit of rupees 10 per share. And how many shares are there? There are 80 shares. So total profit is going to be equal to 80 into 10, that equals to 800. So return is going to equal to 960 plus 800, and after calculations you can find that total is going to be equal to, this is going to be equal to 1760. So the total income is 1760. Now we will have to find rate of return. So to find rate of return, first we will find market value of all shares. So market value of all shares is 8800, and rate of return is given by the formula return on all shares upon market value of all shares into 100. So rate of return is equal to 1760 upon 8800 into 100, and that equals to 20. So the final answer is rate of return is equal to 20. So far we have seen two examples where there is resale of shares with profit and there is no resale of shares. In the last example, we will see the resale of shares with loss. So let us see the example. A person purchased 80 shares of rupees 100 each at rupees 110 each. After receiving 12% dividend, he sold all shares for rupees 105. We have to find two things: his total income and rate of return. Again, the basic outline is going to be the same. First, we will have to find dividend, then we will have to find return, and finally we will have to find rate of return. Rate of return. So first let us find dividend. Before we solve this example, note that there is resale of shares with loss. Why is there loss? Because share of rupees 100 is sold for rupees 105. So there is resale of shares with loss. See, share of rupees 110 is sold for rupees 105, means there is loss of 5 rupees per share. Another thing we are going to consider all shares. All shares means how many shares are there? 80 shares. So we are going to solve this example by considering all 80 shares. So dividend first we will find. As we have seen in previous example, first we need to find face value of all shares. Face value of one share is 100 and there are 80 shares, so total face value is going to be equal to 8000. Now the formula for dividend on all shares is this: it is equal to rate of dividend into face value of all shares upon 100. So let us substitute face value of all shares. It is, sorry, face value of all shares, it is here 8000. Then rate of dividend is given as 12%, so it is 12 into 8000 divided by 100, and this equals to 960. Now return will be equal to dividend minus loss on resale of shares. So how much is dividend? It is 960 minus there is loss of rupees 5 because share of rupees 110 is sold for rupees 105. So there is loss of rupees 5 per share. And how many shares are there? 80. So 5 into 80 will be equal to 400, and this is equal to total loss. So that is going to be total loss on resale of shares. So that is equal to 960 minus 400, which equals to, after calculations you can find that this equals to 560. So it is equal to 560. Again we'll find rate of return. So to find rate of return, we will have to find market value of all shares, and then we'll have to use formula for rate of return. So market value of one share is 110 and there are 80 shares. So market value of all shares is 8800. Now the formula for rate of return is return on all shares divided by market value of all shares. So market value of all shares is 8800. Return, as we have seen, it is 560 into 100 into 100. So that equals to do the calculations on your own and see that whether the answer comes at 6.36 or not. So the final answer is rate of return on investment is 6.36 percentage. This completes the examples. Thank you.